Welcome back to our program. Sure glad to be back home for the Easter weekend and for the Easter season. We've traveled a good bit in the show, as those of you who listen regularly know. We broadcast the last month from New York City, from Charlotte, North Carolina, several times from New Orleans. Next week we'll be in Pensacola, Florida, as spring break affects a number of folks. We'll be over there with a number of people who are traveling from all over the country to get to what we hope will be warmer weather. But we're glad to be here at our flagship station, Clear Channel Radio, WJBO, this week, and sure glad you're joining us on this special weekend. Did you give up anything for Lent? I'm not Catholic, but I observe the Lenten season, and I've read several articles where many people observe the Lenten season. They think it's a good time to kind of refresh and to maybe give up something in terms of their own self-well-being, and that's what I do. I live a pretty healthy lifestyle, watch what I eat, but during the Lenten season I become pretty much a vegan, no meat, no dairy, of course lay off the sugar as much as possible, and I just find myself feeling better, and maybe a commitment that, look, I guess it's almost like a New Year's resolution. The coming year starts maybe a few months later after the New Year's resolutions, and trying to get myself healthy for the summer and lay some guidelines out in terms of how I want to live my life in the next several years. And diet for me is one way to do it, and giving up certain things. I enjoy a good steak. Enjoy a number of good things, obviously desserts and ice cream, that kind of thing, but it's my commitment over the Lenten season, again, even though I'm not Catholic. I want to share this with you about deep concerns over the middle class, if you will. There's been some startling figures about the number of those who are unemployed that can't get jobs again. And when you look at the jobs lost, it's just not a factor of businesses not hiring. It's the factor that businesses have transformed where they don't need to hire anymore. Makes you think of going back 100 years where about 90% of the population in America was in agriculture. That's where it was. You grew food. You exported food. Today it's 2%. So much mechanization has come into the factor that you don't need manual labor anymore. Well, we're seeing that in many middle-class jobs, in the service industry in particular. In the last 5 years, over 1 million secretarial positions have been lost, and it's not like they're ever going to come back. It's not like those companies have cut back. They have mechanized. They've gone to robots. They've gone to computers. They have found ways to find cheaper ways to do the same job. Travel agents in the last 10 years, 40% of the travel agents we had 10 years ago are no longer working. All that's become mechanized. I planned a family trip last week, had to make a number of airline changes, got train tickets, did it all online. If I'd have done it with a travel agent or a live voice with the airline, it would have cost me a lot more money. So I'm saving money by doing it. Many Americans are. You're learning to do that, and of course, less people are needed for those jobs, and the bottom line shows more profitability. You find that true in any job that involves repetition. If there's a job where you're doing 6 or 7 things the same way each day, you're finding that machines can deal with something like that. And so therefore the challenge is for those in the middle class, it goes right back to education. It goes right back to the internet. The internet has changed so many of our lives, and if you are not computer savvy, then you're just not functionally literate in 2013, and you're not going to be in the years to come. So training yourself, and some people say, well, gosh, it's just, I'm too old to do that. I can't really start something new like that. My mother was 92 when she found out that she was not going to stay in touch with her kids who were emailing photographs, video clips, messages right and left. And they love my mother, and they tried to write letters, but the time constraints of our young people and their interests are such they do everything online. She learned online to adapt for her family. And I don't care how old you are, you can learn online to adapt for a new position. There are positions out there, but you've got to be functionally computer literate. We've talked about that before, and I think these new facts we've seen where so much mechanization is taking place really hits home. China is going through that area right now. China, we're making with the cheaper labor, we're making so many goods to sell to the United States. Well, now The Chinese middle class is growing. They've gotten more productive, and now there are other third world countries that are now in competition with China. And so China is mechanizing, as so many of the other parts of India and other nations that used to be third world that are now competing with us. If we're going to survive, we've got to adapt. We did so after the agriculture period 100 years ago. We can do so today, but you've got to be computer literate. Hey, we'll be right back after this message.